This lesson reviews writing a poem about a person. When writing a poem about a person, the first thing you need to keep in mind is you need to stamp out vagueness. Make sure that you're using exact details about your person. Present strong images, and include lots of sensory language. There will be more about sensory language later in this lesson. Next thing you should remember as you're writing your poem is to listen to the sound of your words. Choose words carefully. Remember, in poetry you have a very limited amount of space to get your idea across, so each word needs to count for something. Make sure that you're looking for words that add directly to your meaning. And look for words that sound good. Part of poetry, beyond the meaning of poetry, is the sound of it. So you're looking for words that really mesh well with the other words that you're using, that add a good, strong sound to your writing. You also want to make it interesting. Think about rhythm of lines. Do you want a smooth rhythm? Do you want it kind of to be a bouncy rhythm? Do you want your poem to rhyme? Remember, not all poetry has to rhyme, but sometimes rhyme helps to make the sound of your poem more interesting. Think about how you want to arrange your lines. Poems are not just a sentence for each line. You can really break it up. You should also think about punctuation. Think about your sentence length. Do you want long sentences, short sentences? Do you want to use sentences at all? You don't have to in poetry. Sky's the limit. Do you want to include some dialogue in your poetry? Even some standalone phrases. Remember, not everything has to be a complete sentence in a poem. Poetry, you're allowed to break those rules. So think about what you can do to make your poem more interesting for your reader to read. As promised, some additional information about sensory language. Sensory language really is key to poetry, so it's important that you know what it is. Sensory language is language that appeals to your five senses: sight, hearing, taste, touch, and smell. And as I've said before, it really makes the poem much more interesting for the reader. So let's take a look at some examples. Keisha wore a bright sweater. Or you could say, using some sensory language, Keisha glowed in a yellow and orange sweater. As you can see, when you use sensory language, it makes it more interesting. It gives you a better picture in your mind. Now you can picture Keisha looking great, just glowing with this radiance in a yellow and orange sweater. Uncle Joe has an unusual laugh. Or Uncle Joe has a bellowing laugh. Using the sensory language of bellowing laugh helps you imagine Uncle Joe's very deep laugh. My brother made a tasty salsa, or my brother's tongue-tingling salsa brings tears to the eyes. In the second version, you can really get a sense, you can really imagine how spicy the salsa is. It's tongue-tingling, it brings tears. This type of writing really makes your poetry much more vivid and definitely adds an extra layer to your poems.